Morning, everybody. Welcome to Daryl Buu's weekly update for June 28th. In a bit of a smoking heat wave here in Vancouver. I know you did not spend the weekend in Vancouver, but potentially in a even more warm place. How was your weekend, Buu?
Yeah, it was good, thanks. So I'm up in the Okanagan. So for folks who aren't listening from British Columbia, that's kind of more towards the center of BC. At least horizontally center of BC, and known for being a desert. And so I think yesterday it got up to 43-ish or something like that. Yeah, wow. Pretty hot up here. I was actually on the barbecue last night as well. And so, I mean, even like 11 o'clock at night, it was 30 degrees out. So when I was on the barbecue, it was still 40, I think 39 or 40 Celsius or over 110 Fahrenheit. Yeah, I was cooking out there, even though, I mean, we had stuff on the barbecue, probably could have cooked without even turning the barbecue on. It was pretty, pretty hot out there. Yeah, otherwise, I mean, we have access to a couple lakes out here over at the in-laws. And so we were in the lakes a little bit, kind of splashing around with the kids, and up at the Silver Star Bike Park as well. So most weekends I'm saying that I'm out at Whistler at the bike park, but this weekend we were at Silver Star Bike Park, which they've done a really great job on here as well. And it was actually about 10 degrees cooler once you get up to that elevation. So it was actually a good spot to be in, even though you're kind of in the sun, but you're moving around and it's a little bit cooler. So it was good for that. Yeah. How was your weekend, Daryl?
Yeah, weekend was good. Obviously, I'm wearing the Hawaiian shirt here today in honor of the fact that I just did a quick check. It's hotter in Vancouver right now than it is in Honolulu. So I thought I'd pull out a Hawaiian shirt. But yeah, we had a nice weekend. It was obviously we're one of the many people in Vancouver. We have an older home that's been redone. It's like a 100-year-old home. So it gets very warm in the summertime, and we're one of those people that say, oh, it only gets hot for 2 or 3 days a year in Vancouver where you need an air conditioner. And this is obviously proving us wrong once again. So yesterday we went out and I went online to look for fans. Of course, everywhere is sold out. It's sold out on Amazon, sold out in every store. So drove out to Port Coquitlam. Canadian Tire had two of these, I don't know if you can see them, these Dyson fans, which are also purifiers, also to at least give some sort of reprieve. But yeah, other than that, we had dinner with some friends on their patio, which was warm but nice. Yeah, it was overall a good weekend. Just trying to adjust to the temperature here.
Yep.
Yeah.
But cool.
Yeah. So I think we've got one of our most esteemed guests. I don't know how many VPs we've had on the show.
Sure. But, yeah, should we bring them on?
Yeah.
This will be the highest ranking I mean, we got up there with Rick Salsa. He was a director, so that was the highest title at the time to ever join the Daryl Buu show. And I think we've had a pretty good run. I mean, Rick joined when he was not a director, and then coincidentally, all of a sudden, he's a director at F5 now. So, we have a good track record of getting people promoted. And Brian's coming on as a VP, so who knows where this is going to go.
Yeah, I could see. Sky's the limit after this. How's it going, Brian? Great to see you.
Good to see you guys. I wish it was in person. We've had some really good times up there in BC, the three of us. And, I would have thought we'd gone out on some sales calls while still in sales one or two more times. And now I've made this strange, crazy leap into product management that I did not anticipate.
Well, great move for you, I'm sure, and I definitely know it's a great move for F5. It's been a little while in the role, but Brian, for those that watching, has been kind enough to come up and join us here in Vancouver and do sales calls over the years, and joined us on Zoom calls and all sorts of things. So, maybe Brian, talk a little bit about your your role in F5 now and kind of where you started and how you got here. That would be a good way to get things going.
Yeah, so now I'm presently the VP of Product Management for our Big IP and NGINX security solutions. So that's inclusive of Big IP Advanced WAF, SSL Orchestrator, and Access Policy Manager, as well as NGINX App Protect, both WAF and the forthcoming NGINX App Protect DOS capability, which we expect to be GA within the next few weeks. Very exciting time to kind of come into a product management role and release a kind of a really differentiated solution into the marketplace. But before 2 months ago, I spent the last 13 years in sales at F5. So Boo and I were SE peers for many years, and then I was a solutions architect focused on security. That's where the three of us managed to get together the most. Supporting some customer accounts in your region, and did a lot of speaking, time writing for Information Security Buzz, Dev Central, of course. I've also been host of a podcast called This Week in Enterprise Tech on twit.tv, which I'm now on hiatus with my change in role. It's been a wild ride over 13 years. I came from a career in IT operations before F5, and I didn't expect to get into sales, then once in sales, I really felt like I was finding my groove, and I had a really, really successful run at F5, and then we had an opening come at F5 for this leadership in Big IP and NGINX security. And even though product isn't my thing, I've been working closely with product management teams. I was part of the due diligence for Shape Security, the acquisition of Shape Security, as well as for Volterra, and really started to develop a passion for product strategy. And when this position came open, I really thought, who's more passionate about Big IP and NGINX security solutions than I am? And I wasn't sure what to expect when I went for the role, but Kara Sprague, our GM for Big IP, and Hyan Song, who's our GM for our security product group, both expressed a lot of confidence, took a leap of faith with a guy that's not a product background. So let it be known that F5 is an awesome place to work in terms of opportunity if you show the effort and the passion and the wherewithal to kind of stick your neck out and take some chances. So I love working at F5. I love our technology, our people, our culture, and looking forward to what I can get done and how I can make our customers more successful at making the internet a little bit safer place. So that's the me in a nutshell, at least work wise.
Yeah, well said. I think Boo and I will both agree wholeheartedly. It's F5 is a great place, and certainly in the last few years, the product management side of it has been more important than ever with all these acquisitions. It's been a bit of a whirlwind. Not really go back 5 years or more. We weren't really known for acquiring companies at the kind of the dizzying pace that we have been. So, but pretty cool and exciting to have all of these new technologies be part of the solution.
Yeah, and you know, for you to be in that role, it seemed just like an amazing fit for you. Like I feel like I would only assume that you felt like you needed to do this for F5. Like you were in the position with the knowledge and kind of all the different areas that you've worked with now at F5, that who else better to jump into that role and take this responsibility. So it's pretty cool that you're in there.
Yeah, that was absolutely the motivation. I really, when we had the role was vacated by a guy by the name of John Morgan. He went, and he's actually the CEO of a security startup called Confluera. So a little plug for John. He was a great business partner for me in my prior role, leading our security sales strategy. Uh, and when he left, actually, it was a couple of people on his team that said, "Hey, Brian, are you thinking about going for this?" And I said, "Actually, no, I wasn't thinking about it at all." But once I started to think about it, it came down to exactly what you said and what I said previously is like, who's going to be more passionate about guiding this in the way I think it should go, but also just in a way that I think is so customer focused. That's what I bring to the table. Maybe a little bit. That's sort of my secret weapon or my superpower in product management. I come from a customer environment, come through sales, and what the customers need. What's most important to them is right at the heart of my philosophy professionally, and so that's really what I'm looking forward to representing. I just wasn't about a title, as much as that might seem crazy to say. It wasn't about a title or career advancement as much as it was a new challenge, and it was one that I felt like with 13 years in the rear view at F5. I was the right person at the right time. I felt like I had some unique perspective to offer, and it was a way for me to, again, help our customers the best way that I could.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Oh, totally. So I mean, you gave us a little bit of a hint on what's to come with the NGINX App Protect DDoS stuff. Any other hints that you can drop for us along the way here?
Yeah,
where things are going?
Breaking news on the Daryl and Buu update.
I'll give you a little insight into my philosophy. I can't NDA every one of your customers, but I can give you a vision and philosophy. And one of those things is that I believe very strongly in our security capability, particularly in our web app firewall and access capability. And NGINX App Protect is a real proof point, if you will, of the truly unique and powerful capabilities that we were able to deliver for WAF on Big IP. We were able to kind of bring that same technology, that same high performance, high fidelity web app firewall technology, and bring it onto the NGINX platform and enhance the value proposition for our customers who are using NGINX Plus. I don't feel inhibited by F5 data planes. Let's put it that way. So NGINX and Big IP are always going to be the first party citizens, and Volterra now as well. But I really think there's a number of customers who are out there. They've chosen other proxies, and I won't plug them here on your show, but you've chosen other proxies for whatever reason, whether it's driven by development decisions, application decisions, and you're not likely to choose a different proxy. You're not going to come to Big IP or NGINX necessarily just for a better proxy. However, you might still want the advanced class leading security we can provide. And there's not a lot of WAF options out there, just for one example, that aren't mod security, available on generically any proxy platform. So I'm really interested in probing, those types of possibilities. How do we bring F5's class leading security to data planes where traditionally we haven't been? Because we're concerned, obviously, with Big IP and NGINX as our first party citizens and our first class platforms, if you will. But I think increasingly as we as an industry start choosing, our matrix for choice and how platforms are selected changes, it's a way for F5 to, again, I think my mission, make the internet a little safer place. And we make our customers successful in doing that, then I think about how do we address more customers than just the ones that are on our data planes. So that's something that I'm interested in. There's no commitment there, but it's philosophically something I'm very interested in, seeing how we can expand our offerings to reach more customers and reach more applications.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yep. Well said.
Very cool. Very cool. Maybe we can kind of pivot from here, though, I had shown you guys something interesting that I'd brought up before, and I think Daryl was going to bring out a something to show us about this, but something that I picked up here, and I think there's going to be a couple of things that kind of marry along the idea of where applications live and marketplaces to acquire applications and whatnot. But here's a marketplace out there, and I think marketplace is a very important term right now, but a sneaker marketplace outside of Amazon called GOAT. I don't know if you'd used it before, Daryl, but it's hit a $3.7 billion valuation. So, pretty neat.
Yeah, I have actually bought sneakers on the GOAT site before, as well as others. But yeah, there's a handful of them that are doing extremely well. Sometimes you can get sort of unique sneakers if you're into that kind of stuff. They just aren't available in your kind of local stores. Sometimes you pay a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less, but there are sneakers on there that are upwards of $1,000 or more. Like, it's just absolutely ridiculous where this market has gone. I was seeing, we've had Rick Salsa on before, as you were talking about earlier. He was a big kind of sneakerhead also. I picked up these, see it in the camera here, Adidas Ultra Boost 5.0 DNA. All sorts of
wow,
fancy colors here. Yeah.
Oops.
That were, I found out later, what my wife told me, kind of a line that Adidas made. It says, if you can read that, "Love unites" on the tongue there. These were kind of in honor of Pride Month, which I thought was kind of cool. But very different, very colorful. Not for everybody, I'm sure, but that was the latest purchase this weekend. Got again, a little reprieve from the heat by hanging out in some air-conditioned stores.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Sneakers are big in my house. I got 2 teenage boys, so I'm constantly, "Dad, you check out this link, see if you can get on this drop," and invariably you miss the drop, and you end up on a marketplace like GOAT or StockX or what have you. And sometimes, like Daryl said, sometimes you pay a little bit of a premium.
Yeah, it's crazy industry, and I don't see it kind of slowing down anytime soon. It's going to be probably more challenging for the the box stores who have to sell this stuff retail. But yeah, not surprising. Those guys are at 3.7 billion already.
Yeah, and I didn't have an article on this, but it's something that I came across last week is Nike had some outstanding financial results that were released. And they kind of credit about a year ago, or maybe a year and a half ago, they exited Amazon as a marketplace, and they went on their own for e-commerce. And I think this is like right now, and I've had this conversation with Daraj on one of my live streams before, from an entrepreneurial sense or just digital transformation. There's 2 battles being fought right now. The battle for digital real estate, like where does your product sit or how many people does it actually reach? And then battle for digital marketplace, so where stuff actually gets transacted. And so for a while now, Amazon has just been totally dominating this digital marketplace idea, and where people can actually sell stuff, because it's kind of like go-to. If you're looking for something, you kind of default to looking, or a lot of people will default to looking on Amazon. But guys like Nike, who are able to break off that marketplace and get off of that whole logistics and supply chain of Amazon and create their own marketplace, and now they own the entire supply chain top to bottom. And all of the market insights that Amazon has. Like, Amazon has the ability to sell you anything they want because they know exactly what you're going to buy. So if they strategically place ads in front of you, then you'll be more apt to buy that kind of stuff. Now, Nike owns all of that. And I think Lululemon's another great example. Like, if anybody's read the book by Chip Wilson, his whole philosophy at the beginning was like top to bottom ownership of the entire supply chain and getting stuff out to consumers without having to go through any retailers or any other folks' e-commerce. And so seeing all these other marketplaces thrive is, I think it's interesting in a world where we're kind of dominated by Amazon.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the move that you saw Nike make here was a lot about authenticity, which is what Goat and StockX and even eBay are now, uh, getting into. That's their value proposition, right? Is establishing authenticity of the
Mm.
goods, and increasingly, Amazon has become a marketplace for bad knockoffs and fakes,
Yeah.
and that's why Nike pulled out of Amazon, which is interesting to me. What's even more interesting to me is that the reason Goat and StockX and eBay all have this great secondary market for these sneakers is because of automation, basically draining the original drop from Nike, right? So where Nike controls the drop on their site and some select retailers like Foot Locker, uh, they still are struggling, and they probably have one of the more advanced infrastructures for fighting bots because they've been doing it so long. But still,
Mm.
bots win the day, right? They win the day, and they it's a denial of inventory, as it were. And folks don't necessarily know it, but that's not really a good thing for Nike. They may be selling lots of goods, but it's not getting directly into the hands of their their most ardent consumers. It's going into the hands of secondary marketplace sellers, which isn't great for their brand. So
Mm.
from an F5 point of view, the fact that Goat's hitting 3.7 billion is a trailing indicator of how bad the bot problem is for Nike.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's a good point.
Yeah, that's a good call. And actually, so if we pivot a little bit from here, another article that I wanted to bring up, and this is just kind of a high level look at how everybody is investing in open source startups right now. I mean, F5 obviously is an example of this with the acquisition of NGINX. But I think this comes down to the idea of that digital real estate. So open source can just spread like wildfire, and all of a sudden you have this huge user base, and then from an investor point of view, somebody jumps in, they figure out how to monetize this enormous user base. Brian, you're in the middle of all this, I guess. So you have under your purview Big IP, which is pay for platform, and then you have NGINX, which has a pay for side of it, but an open source side of it as well, and free for folks to use. Like, where do you see any comments on where you see the line here, or where people sit, or what makes the most sense for business?
Well, I think open source has always come down to staffing, right? So whether you can make the most of open source comes down to whether you have the type of staff that can get the most out of it. So we made decisions, prior to my time at F5 in the companies where I was part of the operations team, to take on open source in strategic ways where we felt like we had the talent and the people who could manage those open source capabilities within the infrastructure. But as you see, like Red Hat's probably the most famous, right? They've made a whole business model out of supporting open source, more so than even the sale of a specialized version such as like NGINX Plus versus NGINX open source. So there's a few different ways to look at this. I first went straight for the customer view. Is like, why would I choose open source when I have a neatly boxed solution? And there are a number of reasons, whether it's just wanting to have more flexibility, or you feel you want to save on support, and by investing in your own staff and investing in your own people. There's a whole host of reasons, but I think increasingly there's a reticence to just spend on something just because it's neatly boxed up and has a support contract behind it. Especially as we start to develop, much more talented IT staffs. And I say this full well knowing that I was not the caliber of IT person that I see when we visit our customers today. We see some people that are just tremendous engineers and architects who 20 years ago would have definitely been working as like a software engineer or something else. But we see increasingly product management, which I've stepped into now, is now a discipline of many IT organizations. How do you build and manage products for your internal technical services? So as those types of capabilities get built up in our customer organizations and in the enterprise, you're going to see more adoption of open source because they have more wherewithal to build their own solutions and maintain them without necessarily saying, well, I just want one throat to choke, or I want one support contract, or whatever the case may be.
That's a great point. And actually, one thing I just picked up from that too is I've started to notice postings from organizations even in Vancouver where they post for a product owner, product manager internally to their IT. So maybe that job would have been posted as like an application manager previously, but now it's maybe like the scope of the job really encompasses what like a vendor product manager does now, like making sure that the customers are happy with the product and things get released on time and ongoing support of it. So it's kind of neat to see that transition.
Yeah, and I think it really opens up IT career path as well, right? So if you're going into IT, back in the 90s when I jumped in, there was a progression, and at some point it starts to narrow a lot, right, towards the top of the pyramid of a CIO type of level, and there's not the opportunities grow less because there's just less room to move up. But with the expansion of the discipline and having like these product manager type roles, you can really pivot out of IT a lot more directly into vendor product management and other types of roles and capabilities. So I think there's a lot more flexibility in the profession that I accidentally chose many years ago.
Yeah, pretty cool. And here's one last one. I don't know if we mentioned, but Brian, you're from New Jersey, sorry. And this is New York State government IT department was left exposed to the internet. Let's see here. Yeah, they had a Git server that was left open.
Yeah, well, so that's become a thing that I actually attended a talk years ago that was held by the folks at MongoDB, as a matter of fact, speaking of open source. And they had a tool that actually went and crawled all their repos and looked for secrets. And I forget what the name of it is now because there's been a lot of time in between this and that. But essentially, they were pretty hip to this challenge, right? This type of accidental inclusion of passwords or other types of secrets in source code that was shared, right? Because they're managing both their proprietary version of MongoDB as well as the open source version, and so they really had to kind of manage that sort of thing. And it looks like what happened here is they had some open source stuff that they were sharing, but didn't realize that code was getting committed to those repos with some secrets embedded, whether those are tokens or certs or passwords, what have you, which obviously very, very bad. By the way, that's the professional cybersecurity assessment. Very, very bad.
Easy to interpret that one.
I just got an email from a card company that I used to do business with that just told me had credentials exposed, and it's getting to the point where you get these emails and it's not even alarming anymore. It's just like, oh, okay, there's another one and stuff. What do you do about it? It's it's crazy times, and it's, I guess, a testament to the business that we're in.
Absolutely. And I think a testament to the progress we made that we can, sort of weather these things. Fraud detection is so robust that, rarely are we really concerned about someone fraudulently using our credit card. We get a new credit card number and we keep moving. Identity theft is still out there, but it's not as rampant a problem as it once was in many cases because anti-fraud systems are particularly advanced. The other aspect is I think, I've convinced more people over the last few years to start using password managers and 2FA. People that are non-technical that need convincing, and the more that happens, the internet does get safer for us as well.
Yeah, good point. Easy thing to do, and yeah, like you said, just makes everything a lot safer. We are already at the bottom of the hour, so that was great to have you on. Great to see you, Brian. It's been a while since we connected for sure. So thank you very much. I know you're a busy guy.
Dinner's on me next time I'm up in BC for sure.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Awesome.
Look forward to that. Okay,
Cool.
thanks everyone. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks. Talk to
See
you
y'all.
soon.
Aloha.